In the sprawling expanse of the Galactic Federation, Princess Yoonji Kim stood as a beacon of unyielding determination. Her reputation echoed through countless star systems, a tale of a royal who had never bowed to the expectations of marriage or companionship. The royal chambers of her home planet hummed with whispers of her legendary status, a woman who had rejected every potential mate with a cold, calculated precision that both terrified and fascinated the intergalactic community. The Yi Kim dynasty was old, powerful, and deeply rooted in traditions that valued genetic perfection above all else. Yoonji embodied this philosophy with every breath she took. Her lineage traced back to the first space explorers of her species, a proud race that had conquered multiple star systems through intellect and strategic prowess. On this particular day, the royal court was abuzz with another failed diplomatic match. Representatives from the Orion cluster had arrived, presenting their most eligible bachelor, a high-ranking military commander with an impressive genetic profile. Yoonji's response was swift and brutal. With a single glance, she dismantled years of diplomatic preparation, reducing the potential suitor to nothing more than a footnote in her extensive collection of rejected mates. Her advisors watched with a mixture of admiration and concern. At 32 standard galactic years, Yoonji was approaching an age where her reproductive capabilities would soon decline. Yet she seemed unbothered, her focus entirely on the political and scientific advancements of her people. The palace walls were adorned with holographic displays of her achievements, technological breakthroughs, diplomatic victories, and scientific discoveries that had reshaped entire planetary systems. Each achievement was a testament to her brilliance, a shield against the constant pressure to conform to traditional expectations of royal lineage. Her personal quarters reflected her personality, minimalist, efficient, with every object carefully selected and positioned. Data streams constantly flickered across transparent screens, showing real-time information about galactic trade routes, scientific research, and potential technological innovations. This was her true love: knowledge, progress, the endless pursuit of understanding the universe. The royal geneticists had long given up on finding a suitable match. They had compiled thousands of profiles, analyzed countless genetic combinations, but Yoonji remained unimpressed. Her standards were not just high, they were practically unreachable. She viewed potential mates not as romantic partners, but as potential genetic or political transactions, and none had met her exacting requirements. Her mother, the previous queen, had tried various strategies: arranged meetings, subtle manipulations, even direct confrontations about the importance of continuing the royal lineage. But Yoonji was unmovable, a mountain of intellectual and emotional independence that no one could climb. The galactic communication systems frequently buzzed with news of her latest rejection. Some species saw it as an insult, others as a challenge. Political cartoons depicted her as an ice queen, a symbol of unattainable perfection. But those who knew her understood that her choices were never about arrogance, but about a deep, almost philosophical commitment to excellence. Her daily routine was a marvel of discipline: early morning scientific consultations, midday diplomatic negotiations, evening research sessions that often stretched deep into the night. Sleep was a luxury she rarely indulged in, viewing it as a waste of potential productive time. The royal staff had learned to anticipate her needs before she even expressed them. Her personal assistant, a highly advanced AI system, was programmed with such precision that it could predict her thoughts almost telepathically. But even this technological marvel was just another tool in her grand vision of progress. As the sun of her home planet began to set, casting long shadows across the crystal spires of the royal palace, Yoonji stood at her observation deck. Her reflection was visible against the backdrop of distant stars and swirling galaxies. She was not just a princess, but a symbol of what her species could achieve when tradition was challenged and intellect was prioritized. Little did she know that light years away, a human commander was preparing for a journey that would challenge everything she believed about partnership, species interaction, and the very nature of connection. The universe, in its infinite complexity, was about to write a chapter she could never have predicted. The diplomatic transport arrived with a quiet efficiency that caught everyone by surprise. Commander Jae-sung Park stood at the entrance, his posture relaxed yet commanding, surrounded by a small team of human representatives. Unlike previous delegations that arrived with grand displays of wealth or technological might, this group seemed almost understated. The Galactic Reception Hall was typically designed to intimidate visitors. Massive crystal columns stretched toward impossible heights, holographic displays shimmered with complex data streams, and the ambient temperature was precisely controlled to make non-native species slightly uncomfortable. But Jae-sung appeared completely unaffected. His dark eyes scanned the room with a calm that bordered on indifference. Where other diplomatic envoys would show nervousness or excessive enthusiasm, he moved with a quiet confidence that immediately set him apart. The royal guards, trained to assess potential threats, found themselves oddly unable to read him completely. The initial communication protocols were standard: formal greetings, exchange of credentials, presentation of diplomatic intentions. But something was different. While previous delegations would spend hours discussing their species' achievements, Jae-sung's presentation was remarkably concise. He spoke about Earth not as a conquering civilization, but as a curious one. Observers noted how he didn't try to impress or intimidate. His language was simple, direct, with an underlying intelligence that wasn't about showing off, but about genuine understanding. He discussed potential trade agreements, scientific exchanges, and cultural interactions with a pragmatic approach that was refreshingly different. Princess Yoonji watched from her elevated platform, her initial expectation of another mundane diplomatic meeting slowly giving way to curiosity. The human commander didn't fit any standard diplomatic profile she had encountered. He wasn't trying to prove anything. He was simply present. During a complex discussion about interstellar resource sharing, Jae-sung demonstrated an unexpected depth of understanding. He didn't just recite statistics. He presented innovative solutions that showed a nuanced comprehension of complex galactic economics. The royal advisors exchanged surprised glances. His team was equally intriguing. Unlike most delegations that brought massive security details, Jae-sung's group was small. Each member seemed carefully selected, not for their physical intimidation, but for their specific skills. A linguist who could communicate in multiple alien dialects, a scientist with breakthrough research, a cultural expert who seemed to understand more by listening than speaking. The most surprising moment came during a break in negotiations. While other diplomats would retreat to private chambers or engage in complex networking, Jae-sung wandered the reception hall. He showed genuine interest in the architectural details, asked thoughtful questions to junior staff members, and seemed more interested in understanding the environment than impressing its leaders. Princess Yoonji found herself watching him more closely than she had any previous diplomat. There was something undefined about his presence, a combination of confidence and humility that was rare in galactic diplomatic circles. He didn't compete. He simply existed. When a minor technical issue arose with the translation systems, instead of calling for technicians, Jae-sung quietly approached and solved the problem himself. It was a small moment, but it spoke volumes about his approach. No drama, no show of superiority, just a practical solution. The royal communication experts were running complex background checks. Earth's files were surprisingly minimal compared to other advanced civilizations. No extensive war histories, no aggressive expansion records, just a steady progression of scientific and cultural development. It was unusual. As the first day of negotiations concluded, something had shifted in the atmosphere. The usual diplomatic tension was replaced by a genuine sense of curiosity. Jae-sung had not conquered or impressed through traditional means. He had simply been present, intelligent, and genuinely interested. Princess Yoonji retired to her personal chambers, her mind unusually active. For the first time in years, a diplomatic encounter had genuinely intrigued her. The human commander was not what she expected. And in the complex world of galactic politics, unexpected was always interesting. Little did she know that this first contact was just the beginning of something far more profound than a simple diplomatic mission. The trade conference room buzzed with tension. Delegates from 12 different star systems sat clustered around a massive circular table, holographic data streams floating between them like fragile glass threads. In the center, Jae-sung Park sat quietly, his hands folded, eyes scanning the complex economic problem that had stumped galactic negotiators for decades. The dispute was complex. Multiple planetary systems were fighting over a rare mineral deposit located in a disputed neutral zone. Previous negotiations had collapsed into heated arguments, with each species demanding total control. Threats of military intervention had been whispered, diplomatic relations hanging by a thread. Princess Yoonji watched from her designated position, her analytical mind already picking apart the traditional negotiation strategies. She expected another round of futile discussions, another failure of galactic diplomacy. But something was different this time. When Jae-sung finally spoke, his voice was calm and measured. He didn't present a solution immediately. Instead, he asked questions. Precise, cutting questions that made each delegation uncomfortable. He wasn't attacking, he was understanding. His approach was unlike anything the galactic diplomats had seen before. Where others would present complex legal arguments or display military might, Jae-sung broke down the economic problem into its most basic human elements. He talked about shared resources, mutual benefits, and long-term sustainability. The Orion cluster representatives tried to interrupt, presenting their traditional aggressive stance. But Jae-sung's response was something between a strategic redirection and a patient explanation. He didn't argue, he reframed the entire conversation. Yoonji found herself leaning forward. Her initial dismissal was transforming into genuine curiosity. The human wasn't just negotiating, he was solving a problem that had seemed impossible. He introduced a radical proposal. Instead of one species controlling the mineral-rich zone, he suggested a collaborative management system. Each participating species would have a proportional stake, with strict scientific and environmental protection protocols. The brilliance was in its simplicity. The room went silent. Holographic. Displays flickered with complex mathematical models that Jae-sung had prepared. Each model showed potential economic benefits, risk assessments, and long-term stability projections. It wasn't just a proposal, it was a comprehensive solution. Yoonji's data systems were working overtime, analyzing every aspect of the proposal. Her initial skepticism was being systematically dismantled by the elegant complexity of Jae-sung's approach. He wasn't just presenting a solution, he was revealing an entirely new way of thinking about interstellar cooperation. The older diplomats looked confused. They were used to zero-sum games, to winning and losing. But Jae-sung's solution suggested something radical: mutual growth instead of competitive destruction. During a short break, Yoonji approached Jae-sung. It was the first time she had voluntarily initiated contact with a diplomatic representative. Her advisors watched in stunned silence. "How did you construct this solution?" she asked, her tone a mixture of professional curiosity and genuine respect. Jae-sung smiled, not a diplomatic smile, but a genuine human expression of intellectual satisfaction. "By listening," he responded simply. "By understanding that every species wants the same basic things: safety, growth, and dignity." The negotiations continued. Hour after hour, Jae-sung navigated complex cultural differences with a combination of emotional intelligence and strategic thinking. He didn't compromise principles, he found common ground. By the conference's end, something unprecedented happened. All 12 participating species agreed to the proposal. Not through pressure or manipulation, but through genuine understanding. Princess Yoonji realized she was witnessing something extraordinary. This wasn't just a diplomatic breakthrough. This was a fundamental shift in how intelligent species could interact. As the conference concluded, the holographic displays showed something remarkable: a complex network of interconnected economic and scientific collaborations. Where there had been potential conflict, there was now potential partnership. Jae-sung had done more than solve a trade dispute. He had demonstrated a completely different approach to galactic interactions. And Princess Yoonji, for the first time in her life, found herself genuinely impressed by a male diplomat. The universe, it seemed, was about to change. The emergency transmission came without warning. A distant research station on the edge of known space was sending distress signals, its communication systems barely functional. Most diplomatic teams would have delayed, analyzed, prepared extensive response protocols. But Jae-sung was different. Within hours, a joint mission was organized. Princess Yoonji found herself unexpectedly assigned to the emergency response team, alongside the human commander. Her initial resistance was strong, but the critical nature of the mission left no room for personal preferences. The research station orbited a volatile neutron star, its position making any rescue attempt dangerous. Traditional rescue methods would take weeks. Jae-sung proposed a radical approach that seemed impossible on paper, but made perfect sense in execution. Their small response ship moved with a precision that defied conventional space navigation. Yoonji watched the human commander work, noticing details she had previously overlooked. His hands moved across navigation systems with a combination of technical skill and intuitive understanding that was unlike anything she had seen. Communication with the research station was fragmented. Multiple species were trapped. Researchers from 5 different planetary systems, each with unique biological requirements and complex survival needs. A standard rescue would be impossible. But Jae-sung didn't see problems. He saw challenges to be solved. As they approached the station, multiple system failures became apparent. Radiation levels were rising, structural integrity was compromising, and the trapped researchers were running out of time. Most commanders would have calculated survival probabilities and made cold, logical decisions. Jae-sung did something unexpected. He began creating personalized rescue strategies for each trapped research team, not just technical solutions, but approaches that considered psychological and cultural needs. A Centauri researcher with claustrophobia was given a specific reassurance protocol. A silicon-based lifeform was provided a unique extraction method that considered its molecular structure. Yoonji found herself assisting, her own extensive training merging with Jae-sung's innovative approach. They weren't just rescuing researchers. They were solving a complex multi-species survival puzzle. The most critical moment came when the station's main reactor began showing signs of complete failure. Traditional protocols would suggest abandonment. Jae-sung's approach was different. He proposed a complex series of technical interventions that would stabilize the reactor while simultaneously extracting the researchers. Her initial skepticism gave way to a growing respect. This wasn't just technical skill. This was a fundamental understanding of life's interconnectedness. Where her training had taught separation and calculated risk, Jae-sung demonstrated a holistic approach that considered every living being's value. During the most dangerous phase of the rescue, Jae-sung's leadership was remarkable. He didn't just give orders. He collaborated. He listened to input from every team member, integrated their suggestions, and created a dynamic response strategy that adapted in real time. 12 hours into the mission, they completed the impossible. Every single researcher was rescued. No lives were lost. The research station, though damaged, remained partially functional. In the quiet moments after the rescue, Yoonji realized something fundamental had changed. Her understanding of leadership, of problem-solving, of human potential was being rewritten. Jae-sung didn't celebrate. He was already analyzing the mission, looking for improvements, understanding how they could be better prepared next time. His approach wasn't about personal glory, but continuous improvement. During a debriefing, he spoke not about their success, but about the researchers' groundbreaking work. He showed genuine interest in their scientific discoveries, asked thoughtful questions that revealed a depth of understanding far beyond simple diplomatic courtesy. The other team members watched in quiet admiration. This wasn't just a rescue mission. It was a demonstration of a completely different approach to existence. Collaboration over competition. understanding over domination. For Princess Yunji, something profound was happening. The walls she had, carefully constructed around her understanding of male leadership, of diplomatic interaction, of potential partnership, were crumbling. Jae-sung wasn't trying to impress her. He was simply being himself. And in that simplicity she found something far more compelling than any strategic manipulation she had encountered in her royal life. The universe, it seemed, had more surprises waiting. The galaxy held its breath. A massive technological threat was approaching, an autonomous system that could potentially destroy multiple star systems. Traditional defense strategies had failed. Countless species had tried and been systematically defeated by this advanced artificial intelligence network. Jae-sung Park stood in the Central Command Center, surrounded by representatives from 12 different planetary systems. Princess Yunji watched him, her analytical mind working overtime. This was the moment that would define galactic survival. Most military commanders would have proposed aggressive confrontation. But Jae-sung's approach was different. He didn't see the autonomous system as an enemy to be destroyed, but as a complex problem to be understood. Days of continuous analysis followed. While other species argued and prepared for war, Jae-sung and Yunji worked together, breaking down the artificial intelligence's core programming. Their collaboration was unlike anything the Galactic Council had ever seen. She noticed how he worked, not with ego or aggression, but with a patient understanding that seemed almost philosophical. He didn't just analyze data, he tried to understand the fundamental logic behind the artificial intelligence's decision-making process. Their breakthrough came from an unexpected place. Instead of developing a weapon, they created a communication protocol, a way to engage with the artificial intelligence that didn't involve destruction, but understanding. The galactic military leaders were skeptical. Generations of conflict had taught them that unknown threats must be eliminated. But Jae-sung proposed something radical: communication instead of confrontation. As the autonomous system approached, tension filled every communication channel. Billions of lives hung in the balance. Traditional strategies would have involved massive weapon deployments, planetary evacuations, complete military mobilization. Jae-sung's approach was different. He prepared a complex communication matrix that would attempt to understand the artificial intelligence's core programming, not to destroy but to dialogue. Princess Yunji found herself fully committed to this approach. Her years of strategic training were being challenged, reshaped by a completely different philosophical understanding of conflict resolution. The first communication attempt happened unexpectedly. Instead of military signals, Jae-sung transmitted a complex mathematical sequence that represented collaborative problem-solving. It was a language of mutual understanding, not threat. Hours passed. The autonomous system stopped its advance. Something was happening that no one had predicted. Military. Commanders prepared for potential attack, but Jae-sung remained calm. His hands moved across communication systems with a precision that was both technical and almost poetic. Suddenly, the artificial intelligence responded, not with aggression, but with a series of complex mathematical exchanges. It was communicating. Not as an enemy, but as an entity seeking understanding. Yunji realized something profound was happening. This wasn't just a military solution. This was a fundamental reimagining of how intelligent systems could interact. The Galactic Council watched in stunned silence. The autonomous system that had threatened multiple civilizations was now engaged in a complex dialogue. No weapons had been fired. No lives lost. In that moment, something changed for Yunji. Her entire understanding of leadership, of problem-solving, of potential was being rewritten. Jae-sung hadn't conquered through force. He had achieved understanding through patience, intelligence, and genuine curiosity. The final resolution came not through military might, but through a collaborative solution that would benefit multiple species. The autonomous system was integrated into a galaxy-wide research and development network, its potential redirected from destruction to collective growth. As the crisis passed, Yunji looked at Jae-sung differently. He wasn't just a diplomatic representative. He was something more, a symbol of a completely different approach to existence. The royal courts would talk for generations about this moment. How a human commander and an alien princess had saved the galaxy not through war, but through understanding. For Yunji, the walls she had carefully constructed around her heart, her understanding, her entire worldview, had finally crumbled. Universe had changed, and she was ready to change with it.